Well, hello. Welcome YouTube first. YouTube is first, and then now welcome Periscope and welcome Twitch. So we are once again multicasting on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Periscope. And thank you for being here, guys. Hold on, let me just set up while you all settle in. Got to set up all these different platforms. And no piano today. I'm not at the piano. I don't have access to the piano right now. So hold on, just JNHTX, Kaka. Hello, Donnie. Hold on, just bring up all the platforms here so I can see your comments. Almost there. Okay, I think here we go. Yep. Okay, we are live. We are live. Okay, we got everything set up. I can see all of you here on Periscope and YouTube, and I cannot see anyone on Twitch. So, hello, Paul Wallace. So, if you're on Twitch, if you're seeing this on Twitch and you happen to catch it live, I would suggest that you watch on YouTube under Rob Braxman. Just search for Rob Braxman Tech right there on YouTube and will come on. Hello, Great Gold. So, let me see here. Tibbs. How are you doing, Tibbs? So, yeah, I brought my glasses here if I can't read a comment. So, all these phones are so tiny and I just can't read them anymore. It's very, very hard to read them. So, comes with old age. So, the topic tonight is to kind of go into detail, because yesterday I was trying to explain, what kind of phone I would use given the situation of, choices, limited choices. And I concluded that, as a phone to use that doesn't have any spyware or spying on it, that at the moment the best option are the phones here with Ubuntu Touch. So this is an Ubuntu Touch phone. You can see that, which is a GNU Linux phone. And so this is a Linux phone. This is actually originally a Nexus 5. So there it is, Nexus 5. LG Nexus 5. No, I just read his book. Did he say anything new? It's all the same stuff. So, no, I haven't had time to watch Snowden. Okay, and this one here is a 1+1. And this is actually a replacement phone, so this is newer than the one I used in the video. This is not the one I used in the video. This one is still on Android. I have not successfully converted this yet. Hello, Joe. How are you doing? This has not yet been successfully converted to Android. To Ubuntu Touch. So it's not there yet, but there it is. At least this one has a SIM card. I can actually call. So it actually has a, oops, how do you do this? Okay, so it actually has a dialer. So there's a dialer. So anyway, it has a dialer, so I can dial you right now on this phone. So this one is actually working. But I have not yet converted to Ubuntu Touch. We're not there yet. So, and that's part of the problem that I'm going to explain to you. Like why it's difficult on some phones. This is not as easy as it looks. It's simple given certain situations, and then if you deviate from the standard situation, then it becomes difficult. So this is one of those. This is not standard. So because it's not standard, then we're having a problem. Pretty much most Nexus 5s will be standard. So this one is a much more predictable experience, although there are extra steps. So, uh, so one of the things that Esh Money, you are that's a very bad thing to do, to type three-letter agencies in any broadcast. Not good. Okay, so anyway, this is a Nexus 5, and can you make calls? And yeah, of course you can. And the problem is, and this is one of the things that sometimes if you're rushing to buy this and you don't think about it, I bought an international phone version. This one does not work in the US. It only works on 2G, and where I am, there's no 2G service. So this is not usable for making phone calls. So I kind of wasted my money on this. It's an international phone. But given that, this was a fairly predictable install, so what I did is I bought 2 more Nexus 5s. So I have 2 more Nexus 5s coming in the next week or so. So what I'm going to do is sell it to you if you want it. Okay, I'm going to install it. Just pay for my time to install it. And if you want one, then I'll pre-install it for you. And so you can have one without having to do anything. Okay, because it does require a computer, and you do have to, there's quite a few steps to do more on a Nexus 5 than on a One Plus. This one would have been simple. So, and somebody asked me if I'm willing to sell these phones. Yes, just pay me for my time. I'll sell you the phones. I got a 16 gigabyte one for $50. I got a 32 gigabyte one of these Nexuses for $68. So that's the base phone price that I got them for. Okay. So then, and then I'll just charge, on top of that, and then you're gonna have it. So they're not the easiest ones to find cheap. So I have to keep looking and seeing if they're in good condition. And if I find them cheap, I'll buy a couple here and there, and then we can install it. And then if you want it, what is $80 each? Donnie, which ones? Which one? So there's a 16 gigabyte version of the Nexus 5. You can buy them between 50 and 60 for the 16 gigabytes. The 32 gigabyte one you can buy for probably 65 to 75 typically. So obviously the 32 gigabyte one is more expensive. So, and you can get a little cheaper than that if it's more beat up, but this ones are in good condition. Okay, so this one is in very good, as you can see, it's pretty clean. I mean, there's no obvious sign of age here. Although we're not going to really care for our use, but just make sure that it's functional. This is very, very clean. This is an international phone. This one actually cost me $45. Which is not good because it's not usable for me, but it's just for testing and installing and reinstalling, and I don't have to make a call on it. I can use it. I would have preferred one with a SIM card. So I cannot put a SIM card on this because if I do, it doesn't work. Since I don't have service on here. Okay, so I'll as I get one, I'll announce. I'll probably charge a premium of $99 for my time to go set it up. Okay, so that's UK Braxters can use that one. Yes, the international one should be usable outside of outside of the US. So it might even be workable in Mexico and South America to avoid extreme shipping costs. So yeah, so this one I don't know about Canada, but those work with GSM and CDMA. No, I don't think these are GSM phones. These are not CDMA phones. So Besides, I don't, CDMA is dead. So they're LTE and GSM. These phones, LTE and GSM. So I've been finding these on eBay and other places on the internet. So again, this is a Nexus 5. Let me just turn it on for you. And this one, that's running Ubuntu Touch already. This is running Android. Still, I haven't done this one yet. This is not the one I used in the video. The one I used in the video had a problem with the SIM card, so I couldn't make calls on it. So I actually returned it, and they gave me this. So this one works fine, but here's the problem with this. This was not shipped with the original stock OS. By default, if you buy a 1+1, 1+1 comes with Cyanogen Mod. That's the name of the operating system it comes with, which is the precursor to. It should work with AT&T, T-Mobile for sure. The GSM carriers. Probably. I mean, they probably work with Verizon as well. I can't imagine why not. These are pretty standard phones. There's a list of. Just check the list of. You can kind of check on the internet. These are standard devices, and they should work with all of the GSM and LTE carriers. So it should work with most of them. What was the other question? It's interesting that an international phone doesn't work in the U.S. Seems like the term international could indicate it would work anywhere in the world. Yes, what they do is they say international, meaning not U.S. Here's the funny part. Some phones are called world phones. Somebody just said they bought a world phone version of this, and I'm aware anything that says world, it means may not work in the U.S. So, U.S. is different. First of all, the chips used in the U.S. is different. The phones that are in the U.S. use Qualcomm chips for the baseband. The phones that are from other places use MediaTek, which is another Chinese company. And so that's the difference in the baseband, and that's part of the compatibility, because certain bands in the U.S. are unique to the U.S. For example, CDMA. Nobody uses CDMA outside of the U.S. So that's one of the reasons. Anyway, I'm going to talk tonight about these devices and the usability of these devices running Linux, and we can talk about what you can actually do with this, what you cannot do, what your expectations are. And some of you actually ask me questions, not understanding the terminology I'm using, and I'm going to try to simplify it for you. So are you from Russia, Kaka? Okay, so I'm going to try to simplify this for you so that you understand it in layman's terms. Let me again reiterate the goal here. The goal is how do we make a phone, or how do we have a phone that will not spy on us, or at least not spy on us as much. And the spying that occurs on an Android and iOS phone is so zucking extensive that if you bring an iOS phone and an Android phone anywhere, it would have a known record of every place you've been to, who you've talked to, what sites you've visited on it, all the IP addresses anywhere, and they use that, of course, to target the marketing. But beyond that, is also sold. That data about you and all of your movements and everything you do is also sold. Is Nexus 5 and OnePlus One the only phone that can Nexus 6P do it or not? No. Okay, so let's answer that question, since it's fitting for the moment. This particular OS that I'm talking about today is called Ubuntu Touch. Now, some of you were asking me what Ubuntu was, and I understand that Linux itself is, especially Ubuntu Linux, is used only by a small percentage of the population. Most of you use Windows or a Mac OS operating system. And beyond that, you're using Android and iOS. So you don't actually have a lot of experience with Linux. And some of you actually think, what is Linux? And, why do we care? And how popular is this Linux thing? And for just a kind of just to set the stage here, for those of you who don't realize it, practically all the apps that you use including ZocBook, anything from Zuck, Instagram, WhatsApp, and all that, Snapchat, Telegram, all of the programs they use, including Brax.me, my own app, every one of those apps runs on the back end with a Linux server. This is almost guaranteed. Very few people would ever think about using a Microsoft server at the back end. And there are obviously no Apple backend servers. So at the back end in the cloud, you are going to be using Linux for 99% of the commercial popular apps out there. The ones who would not use Linux would be like businesses, because they have some special purposes, and probably a bulk of businesses will use Windows servers. I'm going to guess could be as much as 90% of them will use Windows servers. But the rest of us use Linux servers, okay, including me. I use all my servers, 100% of my servers are running Linux. But what is not obvious is the Linux desktop. Okay, what is not obvious is the Linux desktop. Like who uses the Linux desktop? The Linux desktop is the replacement on a desktop to Microsoft Windows and Mac OS. So that is called a Linux desktop, and it's graphical just like Windows and Mac OS X. And it runs on many computers from Intel. It also runs on many computers that are not Intel, like ARM, RISC systems, and so on. Now, the thing about the desktop Linux versions, they are not as popular, of course, as Windows or Mac OS X, and so they make up under 5% of the market. So, as much as I use Linux mostly on the command lines, and there are some people who use Linux for everyday use, and they use a Linux desktop. I am not one of those. I don't use Linux every day because I'm mostly running whatever my main computer is, and at the moment I'm using Windows. A year ago or 2 years ago, for many years, I was using a Mac. So it doesn't matter to me what it is. It's a matter of what task I can do. And I can switch to Linux as well, even today, if I wanted to. And the reason I cannot switch to Linux is because I need to do YouTube, and YouTube needs Adobe Premiere Pro. And Adobe Premiere Pro is only on Windows. So I can't even use a Mac. So for YouTube purposes, I have to have a Windows computer. However, I can have another computer that's running Linux, and that is my plan. So before this year is over, I will buy a laptop running Linux, and I will experiment with that, and that's going to be the one I'm going to use the most. And then when I need to do a video, I'm going to do it on Windows, but I'm going to try to use Windows less and less. So that's the plan. Now, what does this have to do with phones? So, as you know, on phones, the only two operating systems you can use on a phone are iOS and Android, and what are called Android custom ROMs, meaning replacements to Android, but are based on Android. So Android has an open source called AOSP. That's the Android open source. And the Android open source can be modified, and then they take the Google portion out of it, and then they make it available to you. The most popular one is Lineage OS. Okay, So when Lineage OS is based on a baseline of Android open source, and then they modify the Android open source and they made Lineage OS. So that's the options you can have for operating systems. But there's one more option that hasn't been discussed today, and the option you have is to run GNU Linux on your phone. Now somebody will say, wait, Android is Linux. It's like, fuck you. Okay? I'm tired of like listening to people come in here and you say, act like they're so smart. Like, oh yeah, Android is Linux. It's like, please, okay. Yeah, it's true that Android started as a fork of Gen 2 Linux, as one of the Linux versions, or called distros. So Ubuntu, Android does come from the Linux kernel. So they use the original operating system from Linux, not the operating system, but the kernel, so that they can start with something, and then they built this whole thing around it that is no longer recognizable as Linux, and it's actually not in the GNU Linux family. So today, from a wording point of view, you have to understand that when we talk Linux, and I'm being kind of using a popular term here, and I don't want the Linux police on here, because I'm going to just say ZAQ. So you can say, why did you pronounce it GNOME or GNOME, or why did you mispronounce LibreOffice? It's like ZAQ. I don't care. Okay? Who cares about the ZAQ pronunciation is? Okay? So we don't really care about the ZAQ pronunciation. So that doesn't matter. What is important is that I'm trying to teach you about the group of products known as GNU Linux. And that's really what we're talking about. Every Linux, when we talk Linux, we're not talking about the Linux that's in your car, or the Linux that's in Android, or the Linux that's in Chrome, okay? Because, that's a Linux kernel and modified heavily, and it really has nothing to do with GNU Linux. So the standard Linux that we're all aware of is called GNU Linux, GNU Linux. Okay, GNU Linux, and it's pronounced GNU because Richard Stallman, who started all this with open source, called it GNU. So watching on Linux Mint, Skybear's watching on Linux Mint, and Tyremeyer is watching on Ubuntu. Okay, so somebody asked me, what the suck is Ubuntu? Okay, so now you're gonna get confused, and again, I have a basic thing here. And I gotta do the basics because some of you just have no idea. So what is? I'm saying this because I got asked a question about yesterday. So what is Ubuntu exactly? Well, Ubuntu is one of the distributions of Linux. So they take the original kernel of Linux, then they build all these packaging and package managers and apps and the standard apps that you see on Linux, and that becomes a distribution, or the slang is called distro. So there are many distros of Linux. The most popular distro for consumer use is Ubuntu. Ubuntu was made by Canonical. Okay, Canonical is a fairly big company, very big company. It's $500 million company or something. And they manage or create the distribution called Ubuntu. So the most popular distribution of Linux is Ubuntu. So if you're asked what is Ubuntu, it's just a version of Linux. Some people do not like Ubuntu; they like to use Mint. Some have left me messages on the comments say they like to use Manjaro. Okay, so these are examples of popular distributions of Linux. So, unfortunately, none of those distributions matter on the phone because they don't exist on the phone at the moment. At the moment, as of today, since we do not have availability of any other phone in our hands, even though you can buy some Linux phones like a Librem 5, You can't get one. I ordered mine and might not get it till way into next year. Probably I'm gonna guess March at the earliest. So if I'm gonna get a phone, if I'm gonna wait till March, what am I supposed to do in the meantime? Am I gonna get zucked with my Android phone and my iOS phone? So this is my iOS phone right here, and this is Android. So do I want to get zucked with this, or do I want a different option? So let's talk about the use case for this, because some of you are not really understanding why you should do this and what the objective is, and I just want to make it clear. So, okay, so Dustin, you said, Ubuntu is so great these days. I converted my mom to it, and she manages very well despite her cognitive disability. Says a lot about the ease of use. Well, Ubuntu, some people are very picky about the appearance of their desktop, and some like it looking like Windows because they've only used Windows and they want the start bar exactly on the left. And it's like, suck. Who cares if it's the left or right, the top? There's always some way to launch the app, some way to click it. There's a file manager. There's things that are standard, and I don't really care. I don't really care about some minor changes in appearance because it's different with Ubuntu versus even the older version of Ubuntu called Unity. It's different than Manjaro. It's different than Arch. It's different. These are all different distributions, and to be honest with you, who cares? I can use them. If you want to use a distribution of Linux that looks like Windows, they have one. It's called Zorin. So if you want to make it look like Windows, you can use Zorin. But most of you will be, if you're new to this, will likely install Ubuntu. Probably Ubuntu 18.04 or whatever the thing is, or 19. You probably will do 19. And now some of you will also ask, what is all these numbers with Linux? You're enjoying pop. Bruno Ray's enjoying pop. Now, I did not know this, and I will now let you know that in Ubuntu there's Ubuntu 16. By the way, this is running Ubuntu 16.04. Okay? Now, what I did not know is that the 16 means it was made and released in 2016. So typically they'll release in in October or so, and then the first revision will be .04 or whatever. So this was released in likely the 16 in October 2016. So the current one, the new one, which is still in beta, will be released now. Probably got released. I don't actually know. Since it's October, it's in the process of being released, and that is Ubuntu 19. So 19 dot whatever. That's probably we are at 19.2. There you go. So Skybear is giving me the update since I don't pay attention to these little kind of details, and I actually had no idea that had to do with a year. And so there you go. So you're running Ubuntu 18.04 LTS. So LTS means long-term. It's a long-term release. So support, long-term support. LTS means long-term support. So the last LTS version is 18.04.3. So that is 18.04 is the last long-term support version. So if you want something more stable, like for corporate use, and you don't want to be experimenting with it, I would use 18.04. So that's what I use in my devices. If I'm installing it, I'm not installing 19, I'm installing 18.04, and that runs a desktop environment called GNOME. And if you want to call it GNOME, that's fine too. Although it actually is GNOME, but you can call it GNOME if you want. I don't care. Somebody will say, but, screwing up again. They call it GNOME. It's like, okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. Call it whatever you want. It's all the same stuff. Okay, let's talk about important things. That's not important. So this one is a Linux phone. So what makes this a Linux phone? Well, this one is actually running Ubuntu 16.04, and Ubuntu 16.04 obviously was initially released in 2016, came with another development that they called Ubuntu Touch. So back in 2015, the people at Canonical were saying, let's build a mobile version of Ubuntu, and we're going to call it Ubuntu Touch. But then they gave up. So by the time they got to 2016, they gave up on Ubuntu Touch, and they said, we're not going to do this anymore. And a bunch of people around 2017 or so, a bunch of actually there's one guy, his name is Marius. I think he's in Germany. He said, I don't want to give up the project. So he actually took it over and started programming. It doesn't bother Donzo what you call it. So this guy started programming the whatever they ended up with on Ubuntu Touch with the Ubuntu people, Canonical, and he took it over, and that then he formed that into an organization, an open source community called UB Ports. You're not blocked, Ed McLean. Why would you be blocked? I can see your broadcast. Your comment. I was exposed to Unix servers in the Navy. This is my first Linux distro installed on an older ThinkPad to begin learning command line and coding on. Yeah, now Bruno Ray, there's just a difference. I'm fairly competent on the command line and doing command line things on this. I've been, especially if you have a Raspberry Pi. So the best device to learn Linux on is a Raspberry Pi. Get one for I think they're more expensive now, like $70. Get a Raspberry Pi and play with it, and there you go. You can learn everything about Linux on a Raspberry Pi, and they pretty much run the same as any of this. So you can do desktop Linux on it and so on. So that's what I have to do a lot of, because these are my products and they're all based on Raspberry Pi. So this is the Brax Wi-Fi. That's a Raspberry Pi based product. This is running Linux. Okay, it's a version of Linux called Raspbian, which is actually from Debian. So this is like Debian Linux, and this is what I use most of the time. So I program these, and I have different programs that this is the radar alarm I made, and this one is using the same Raspbian and completely different purposes. Okay, so these are all coded in Linux on the command line. These are all command line. They have no desktop environment. So this is where I have a lot of skill in, because I do it all the time. So I can manage making command line Linux day in, day out. When it comes to desktop, it's a little bit different. Your comments are coming fine. Yes, Skybear, we have confirmed that. Yeah, you whatever, Bash, Python. Usually these are usually on Linux. One of the best programming languages to use on a Linux device is Python. Yes, you can run a command line version of Linux on Windows 10, and it is quite curtailed. It's very, very limited. You don't actually learn too much using Windows 10 Linux subsystem. You don't. If you want to learn Linux, you're better off having a Raspberry Pi. So the problem is there's many limitations built into the Linux subsystem. So you will find you say you can do something as simple as, I want to do trace the network using traceroute. Traceroute not installed. I want to use Nmap. Nmap not can't install it. On and on and on. Whatever you all different utilities for networks, that is not available. Hello throwaway. That is not available on the Windows subsystem, Linux subsystem on Windows 10. For those of you who do not know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about the fact that on Windows 10 you can actually install a Linux with Windows 10, and so you're still inside Windows 10, and you can pop a terminal running Windows Linux subsystem. So you actually have access to Linux. So I use that all the time because if I need to talk to the Raspberry Pi, thank you, Alpesh. We'll continue to talk right now. You don't need PuTTY when you're running Windows 10. There's no need for that now. What is PuTTY for? You on Windows 10 just pop the actual Linux command line, and you got Bash on there, and you can do SSH. You don't need anything to do with PuTTY. So directly command line. So that's only on Windows 10. So if you have Windows 10, you can search for instructions how to install the Linux subsystem. If you don't know how to do that, maybe I'll make a video. It's fairly simple to do. Just a few clicks and a few downloads, and you can enable the Windows subsystem, and then you can do Linux commands on it, which is good for talking to other Linux devices without having to install Linux. Okay? But it is not the full Linux. That's why I encourage you to get a full device like this. This one you can screw up all day. It's, the Linux is on an SD card. All the program is on that. So, right? That little micro SD. So, if you make a mistake, erase it and start again. Go back to your. Suck! I dropped the SD card in there. Now oh my gosh. That would be great for installing Linux command line on Windows 10. You want a video for that? I guess if you want to learn how to do that. Here, I managed to do it. So there we go. So this is a custom case I made. This is 3D printed custom case, original design, not copied from anyone. This is an original design case for the Raspberry Pi. Pretty cool. We make it here, and so when you buy one of our products, then you get one of these. I've got unlocked Moto G. Is it possible to flash USB port to this phone? No, unless you want to make your own. Figure out your own distribution. No. So what phones can you load USB ports on that is safe, fairly reliable? If you're in the U.S., it's most of 90% of my viewers are in the U.S. So let me talk to the U.S. market here. Okay, exactly. Why do I want to even mess with taking the SIM card out? Okay, so for the U.S., these are the only two phones that are currently supported, although that's going to increase because some people are testing other versions now. So this one is a Nexus 5. It also supports a Nexus 4, but a Nexus 4 slower. Why waste your money on a Nexus 4? So if you're going to ask me if you're going to get a phone, don't bother with a Nexus 4. Go with a Nexus 5. You can find one of these between 50 to $70 for this. This one comes in 32 gigabytes and 64 gigabyte versions, and this one you can get from I'm gonna say from 50 to 100. Okay, but if you're gonna ask me, which one I would choose, it depends. This one has better cameras, so if you're gonna take a lot of pictures, you probably want the OnePlus. If you don't really care about the pictures, because this is 12 megapixel, this is 5 megapixel, which is pretty low end. So 5 megapixel, 12 megapixel. Okay, so this one is better for photos, but from my experience, as far as usability, speed of the actual, interface and how quickly it responds. Here, let me just show you. I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, see what do we need to look at here? There's the camera. Right. Look, so this is how you swipe app to change apps. See? And then you want to get rid of an app. Just slide it up like. Oops, sorry. It's hard to do this backward. Okay, so slide it up like you do with any other operating system. Okay, so, you know, easy. It's moves pretty fast, so feels comfortable like a normal phone. Okay, it's very functional. Now we're going to talk about some of the limitations. I thought you could put Linux on any Android phone. Though. No, that is not correct, Drifter. No. Very, very limited phones can have Linux, and the only Linux version available as of this moment, which is going to change when you get the Librem 5, but as the one that we can get a hold of, the only practical solution is Ubuntu Touch. Now, again, by the time you get to March next year, these products that are available will be available to actually get shipped. I bought a Librem 5, which is using another operating system called Pure OS, and that one can actually load UB ports and other things. There's many different ones you can use on a Librem 5. It actually supports quite a few operating systems. I mean, a few distros. The problem with with that is you can't get one. So I ordered one in the summer, and lucky to get it in March. So lucky to get it a year later. So because of that, I'm not going to hold my breath. In the meantime, I don't want to be spied on. In the meantime, everywhere I go, can I use something else? And yes, you can use this. Now, there are two devices which they have successfully tested and on UB ports. So it will likely run, but you probably have to play around, and you have to be more of an expert in installing, and that is you have to manually install it, and that is a OnePlus 3. I think it's a OnePlus 3T. Not. I got to remember. It's some other letter in there. OnePlus 3T, and then a Sony Xperia. I forget which submodel of that. Okay, so it's on the UB Ports website. Those two phones are newer, so they may be of interest to some people because those would work. Okay, so what happened to Palm OS? I think the Librem 5 offers are valiant, but the price tag is a bit much for my taste. Well, this is not an unreasonable price tag. Okay, let's say you say, well, it's an unreasonable price tag, but can I? But I don't want to spend the time. Okay, I have a couple of these on order. I'm gonna pre-install Linux on Ubuntu Touch on it. If you want to buy it from me, you can buy it from me. Okay, I'm gonna get it. I think next Monday. So not this coming Monday, but a week later. So when I get those phones, I'll install it, pre-install all the basic apps on it, like ZocBook if you want, and then I'll sell them. Okay, I got two Nexus 5s. One is a 16 gigabyte and a 32 gigabyte. I got one for, I believe, $50. I can't be sure. 50 or 55? I think 50. And then the other one I bought for 68. The 32 gigabyte version I got for 68, and then the other one I got for 50. So this one is an international version. I'd sell this to you too if you're not in the US. So if you're not in the US, you can get this. This is the international version. Okay, and I'll pre-install it. Okay, Linux is an overlay on Unix. No, no, that you know what an overlay on Unix or strangely enough, the one that's a clone of Unix is actually Mac OS X. So Mac OS X is a was built from the free from Unix. So they cloned Unix, and it's called FreeBSD, and that is the source of Mac OS. Linux is not. Linux is a was developed using the same style, commands, and all that as Unix, but it was actually developed independently so they can be open source and free. So so Linus Torvalds, Linus, whatever, however you want to pronounce his name. I think he calls himself Linus, but we Americans like to refer to him as Linus. So because in America that name is pronounced Linus, Linus and Lucy. So the Librem 5 still has binary blobs in it, though I believe, i.e. there aren't open source. I believe could be mistaken about that. Throwaway, that has to do with the firmware, not the OS. Hardware kill switches on Librem 5 and the PinePhone. There's a Netflix app in UB ports open store. I haven't tried it myself. The Netflix app, I don't believe will work out of the box. I believe there's some things you got to do to allow for DRM, digital rights management. So my head is spinning already. This way too much for the. My head is spinning already, so this is way too much for this time of day here. Okay, so sorry, I'm catering to to a bunch of different interests here. So some people are more techy than others. I'm trying to lower the tech level here for some of you. Some of you are very, very advanced. So we're going to mix it up. But anyway, why do we? So for those of you who are saying this is too techy, why? Why this? Well, because you don't get spied on Linux. The spying is so limited on it, and if you turn location off, location is the only one that's going to be a biggie, and it does turn off location very nicely, and you actually there's an icon on top when your location's enabled, so it's very easy to see if you've enabled location. So it's easy to manage tracking on this. So I don't use Vim, so sorry. I don't fucking use Vim. I don't know. I never like using Vim. I use Nano. You're watching on Arch Linux. Not Manjaro though, right, Anthony? You're watching on Arch Linux. Like the raw Arch Linux or yeah. So I use Nano. I'm kind of basic. Okay? If I have to go figure it out, it's like I don't need to remember. I don't have to do much in this. I use Nano. Zuck that Vim nonsense. Too many keystrokes. Yes, I am on T-Mobile right now. This is T-Mobile. This is an actual, I actually put, there's a SIM card on here. This is actually running T-Mobile right now. Puppy Linux. Nano. That's Nanu. Okay. So I'm watching on Windows 10 because I'm currently booted into my Linux Mint OS. I'm broadcasting on Windows 10. Running OBS on Windows 10. OBS runs fine on Linux. I can broadcast on Linux as well, but I cannot make videos on Linux. So anyway, let's talk about the issues with this. Now, why would you want a Linux phone when you have an iPhone? Or when I say iPhone, I mean Apple, Android, and iPhone. Why would you want a Linux phone? Okay, well, if you carry a regular, Android or iOS phone, it will know every place you go to. It will know who you talk to. It will know who you're near to. It will know your preferences. It will know what you bought. I mean, this sucker is just a big zucking spy machine, and I don't want that. I don't want that. So my goal is now there are certain things I like on iOS and Android. So I don't want to necessarily get rid of it because I'm a developer of Android and iOS apps. So what I want to do is leave it at home. Can I leave this at home? That is the question of the day. Can you guys make a decision? Could you leave your iOS and Android at home? So I'm not telling you to dump your Android or iOS. I'm just saying, could you leave it at home? So, you know, one of my main uses of my iOS phone is Kindle. So I don't need that kind of, Kindle experience when I'm on the road. In fact, you can use an iPad anyway without any cell signal on it. So I don't, I can even carry another iPhone that doesn't have, anything on it, leave it off, and if I need to read, then I can use that. But so I don't actually have. I need to think about, and I want you to think about this. What would you need to do that you need your Android and iOS with you? Okay, now let's talk about that. Some of you said, I have a SIM card on this. This has a T-Mobile SIM card. It says T-Mobile. Can the email beacon me on Linux? Turn your location off and use a VPN like anything else. A VPN will kill the beaconing. So use Thunderbird on this. You can't be beaconed. You can use Thunderbird on Linux. So use a Thunderbird email app, or you can use a web app like Gmail web app. That will be fine too. Use a web app or webmail and or Thunderbird, and you will be safe from beaconing. And of course, have a VPN. So you can take Emacs with Orgmo with your. Okay. So what would be the problem with bringing this? So let's go through that. Do you need to go to ZuckBook? I am not going to be on ZuckBook, so I never have to worry about being on ZuckBook. Do you need to be on Instagram? Again, I don't care about Instagram. Do you need to be on Pinterest, Twitter? What am I missing here? If you need to be on those, because that's important to you, well, fortunately, they all have web apps. So you can actually use them on the browser. In fact, they come with built-in web apps on here. So I can easily run YouTube. So YouTube is very easily accessible on a Windows phone. So there's YouTube. Okay, and it runs quite well. There, YouTube. Hey, that's me. Wow. It recommended me to me. That's pretty awesome. Okay. Okay, so that's YouTube. YouTube runs very well on it. Videos run well, no problem. So, it's probably, if you ask me what I would really need on a phone, and for entertainment or for whatever purpose, I would say YouTube. I'm all set. For some of you who are in Periscope, you want Twitter. Do you have Twitter in here? Yes. How to get Apple Mail? You don't need to get Apple Mail. You just go to the webmail version of Apple Mail or run whatever client you want to run, like Thunderbird. There are many email clients on here. What gets me is that people spend $1,000 on cell phone, yet these companies take the information you generate and make money off that. It's a joke. Yes, throw away. How did you, T-Mobile SIM, have service and have Ubuntu Touch, dial, make regular phone call? Please speak to that. How did you, T-Mobile SIM card, have service? It's a zucking phone that already runs. This, by the way, is an international version of Nexus, and the SIM card works fine, and it does, work. The problem is it only only supports a frequency that is only 2G in the US. So I don't have 2G around me. So my T-Mobile couldn't find a 2G, so it has no network, even though it's a valid T-Mobile SIM card on this. So there's no difference. The mobile phone service is part of a separate chip on here called the baseband. It has nothing to do with the operating system. You could be running Windows Phone. You could be running whatever. That is independent from the SIM card. Okay, so this one, well, no, because this is an international phone. Wrong, I bought the wrong one.
Week number 1 down, finally.
Look how smooth the video is. This is
We haven't had our grand opening yet because there's still a bunch of
see,
stuff.
that's running YouTube.
Today's Monday, which marks our
Pretty good.
1 week
I accidentally just tapped on it.
open.
Okay, so it runs very well. There's no 2G where I am. So where I am, they took out the 2G. Okay? So anyway. So yeah, you don't have to worry. Just get the right phone. Don't get an international phone. Get one that's, for the US. So, if I were you, use a GSM kind of service, so you have more flexibility for the long run. So stick to, I would say stick to AT&T and T-Mobile. I don't like AT&T, so I'm going to stick to T-Mobile. Some here, AT&T close not support 2G. 2G is not supported by many already. Yeah, no, there's T-Mobile supports 2G in some areas, just not where I am. So although T-Mobile still supports 2G, it's just not in this area. Okay, so that's the limitation. You want one from me? You want? Okay. So anyway, yes. So I'm just as I'm finding this. If you want me to, build one of these, I'll just keep searching on the internet and find one. And if you say, "Yep, I want to get one of your phones," well, I'll buy one and then have me install it. I'll install it for you. Hello, too late for love. Okay, so I'll install it for you, and then you can buy it from me. Okay, so right now I only have 2. Unless you want an international phone, in which case I have 3, and I'll just keep rotating this, and it's my computer's already set up to install, so it's a lot faster. Otherwise, it does take time if you're not set up for it. I use Total Wireless, subsidiary of Verizon. Okay, it's not a GSM. Verizon, not GSM. It's a CDMA carrier, so I don't like using Verizon. Have you gotten the Ubuntu Touch 8, OTA update? Yes, this one is running OTA 11, so it got the on the air update. I didn't do anything. I looked at it and the version says OTA 11. Okay. So there, YouTube runs great. I don't have a ZocBook account, but I can show you that ZocBook would work normally. You do not use the app version. You use the web app version of all those products. So you can use Twitter like you would on a computer. You would use, it will be, they've done web apps for all of those. It looks good. You will not have any problem using any of those platforms on a browser on a phone. They'll run just fine. If you want to test it, go to your existing iOS or Android and go to the website of whatever it is you want to look at, like whatever thing. Braxme runs fine on this. Braxme runs. Braxme web app runs. The only thing that I'm going to tell you some limitation though, so you understand. The only thing that you're not going to get on the phone is app notifications. There aren't going to be any app notifications because this is not Android and iOS. Notifications go to iOS and Android or a Chrome browser or Firefox browser, which it doesn't have. I'm going to tell you, though, that's actually a good thing because app notifications are actually a source of tracking. Do dynamic web apps work? I don't know what you mean by dynamic, but yeah, they're called. Um, they're not called dynamic, but yeah, they. You know what I'm talking about, where it's resizes. Okay, so if you're big on notifications, yeah, you're not gonna get notifications. Otherwise, it's fine. Okay, so notifications actually track your phone. So in order for you to receive notifications, you have to be on Google, and then Google knows who you are with your ID, and then it can actually recognize everything you're doing because it's giving you notifications. The term is um, what is the term for a website that sizes for mobile and desktop? Responsive. The term is responsive web app. So yes, most web apps made by any big player, including little me, what brags at me, those are all responsive applications, and all responsive applications will work well on any browser on this. Now, I tried loading Firefox on this. Okay, and by the way, it's very tricky. You can't load just standard desktop apps on this because of Ubuntu. Ubuntu put some other limitations on here. So you have to put it into a special container called Libertine, and then you can't actually load it in the main one. So there's my main app repository there, and there's my desktop apps is there. Those are my desktop apps. There's Firefox and idle for Python. Okay, so this just for testing. Okay, now I'm going to tell you, Firefox runs extremely slowly on the desktop version, so it's really pretty unusable. So you can't watch a video or anything. So you would use a standard browser, which is called a Morph browser right there. And the Morph browser that comes with this is actually a fork of Chromium. So it's similar to Chrome. Okay, as the name suggests, a dynamic application generates pages data in real time. As per request, a respective response will trigger from the server and will reach the client. Boy, Donnie, you're way back in terminology there. That nobody does that anymore. That you're talking dynamic HTML. Wow. No, that nobody does that anymore, Donnie. We use Ajax. Servers respond using Ajax. So the term is not, it's called Ajax. So everything uses Ajax now, or a variant of that is using JSON. So yes, all apps, all web apps, including mine, are all using that where it's real time, kind of like what you define as dynamic. But dynamic HTML is not a concept that's used anymore. We don't do that anymore. That's been taken. I mean, my goodness, I don't think that's been used for over 10 years. Yeah, you've been around, Donnie. I mean, I had to look back. I mean, dynamic HTML. I mean, I was like front page when I used to use front page on Windows, way back when probably in the 90s. So yeah, so nobody does that anymore. So yeah, suffice it to say, all modern platforms work perfectly on this. It's the same. I don't see any difference here. Okay, so now let's talk about the navigation and so on. So if you turn on, if you want to go do turn-by-turn navigation and you use the free one that comes with this, is UNav. A random dude, Zuck. Where's my mask? It's in the other room. Random dude, why ask me such questions? Wasn't I playing the anonymous, theme last night on the piano? Zuck. Do I have to answer that? Okay, so let's talk about the turn-by-turn navigation, which is something that many of you you're lost and you want to find your way out, can you do turn-by-turn navigation on this? The one that it comes with is called UNAV, which is free. Would you advise have a separate phone Raspberry Pi loaded with desktop Linux apps and Kali and not mix the purposes? I would, Codename, but it's on a Raspberry Pi. You don't need to get a separate computer. You just change the SD card. So one Raspberry Pi with different SD cards for every different purpose would do it. So you just need one computer, and then you can have different purposes for it. Okay, so UNAV is the navigation part of this, and I showed you in the video, using UNAV, and it's usable. Now, it doesn't have the smoothness, and it's not something you would mount on your car and say this works exactly like Waze. No, it doesn't work exactly like Waze. Hello, Kathy. It doesn't work exactly like Waze, and it's as an interface, it's more old-fashioned looking, but it does the job. So if I get lost, I can find my way around and not have to worry about the fact that I don't have Waze. Now, you can also use Google Maps. Google Maps does work on this. So I have Google Maps loaded here as well. So if you really want to use Google because you just can't help it, on the occasion that you need to, then at least you know it's here. So where's Google Maps? There, I have Google Maps loaded. Let's see if, how do I angle that? There you go, Google Maps. Okay, so Google Maps works just like expect, you can do your pinch and all that. So you can do pinch, it's pretty much nothing unusual here. It's it's not as fast as your iPhone, but hey, I have privacy here, so who cares? Who cares? Could I use it for a year while I wait for a better Linux phone to come up next year? Yeah, you can use this for a year. I don't see a problem why that would be an issue. But then you can start off for $50 or $60. You can start off not be spied on. Okay, is that a good idea to use Google Maps? No, of course not. Spanish, of course not. But I do have location turned off, so it doesn't matter. So it doesn't know where my location is. I have to manually point to it because it doesn't know where I am. Okay, so, but it's a nice map, without having it know my location. It does not know my location. I am not logged into Google. Okay? So you understand that? So, but I'm saying if you're in an emergency and you say, well, I can't use this UNAV. Can I use something I'm familiar with like Google Maps? Yes, you can use Google Maps. This is one of the best things that I found on Linux, on Ubuntu Touch, that I'm just so amazed at. And it's called Cloud Music. It's a very, very simple app. It's called Cloud Music. Okay? So, and what is so neat about this Cloud Music is that I get free music. Free. Any artist you want to search for, I don't know how they do this. It's free. Okay, I don't know why it's showing all this Chinese artists in here. I have no idea. Maybe it's a Chinese phone, or maybe it thinks I'm in China right now. I have no idea. But free. You don't have to pay for Spotify. You don't have to pay for Apple Music. And here's the other thing. It will download the music to your phone, so you can plug this to your car. So you don't have to have internet while you're using the music. Any recommended podcast apps? Since I don't really do podcasts, I didn't check. Let me just search here for you and see if it has any kind of podcast stuff on here. I presume it would, because that's just webcasting. Okay, there's Pocket Podcast, Pocket Casts, Pod, Bird. I mean, it seems to be a lot of options in here. I'm not familiar with podcasts, so yeah. And if there's a web recommended notes app, I believe it has Evernote on here. I believe I saw Evernote. Let me see. So there's an Ubuntu Touch Notes. There's I saw something that said it was based on Evernote. Yeah, I don't necessarily see it right this moment here, but here, Ubuntu Touch Notes powered by Evernote. So there. Okay, recommended calendar app. It already has a calendar app, and it has a calculator and all that. Let me see. Calendar app. Where's the calendar app? Let me see. Calendar. Yeah, there's a calendar app on it. It's native. It's not a web app. Yeah, there's a calendar app on it. So what else? Ask me the question. What else are you looking for? Now somebody said, can you run Periscope on this? Well, you can run the Periscope pscp.tv/Rob Music. You can watch me on here. You can't give hearts to do any of that, obviously. But we're talking about when you're not home. There's no WhatsApp on here. Although somebody, I believe, made a WhatsApp web app. Let me look here. Yeah, there's a web app for WhatsApp. I don't use what the Zuck app is because it's a Zuck property. Yeah, there's a WhatsApp web app. Yeah, so it'll work just like you go to the website of WhatsApp. So that is on here. Okay, what else? So let me look at my application list in here. So calculator, cloud music, Google Mail. There's a straight Google Mail. Is there a Linux app store similar to? Yeah, there is, but it's very, very limited. The reason it has to work with Ubuntu Touch, which is called Unity, and there are very few apps that work on that. Hello, fake name. Okay. Yes. What the Zuck app is zucked up. WhatsApp is zucked up. If you use WhatsApp, then you're gonna get the metadata will be very revealing. You don't want to use it on Ubuntu Touch. Yeah. So I don't use any of that crap. Anything from Zuck I don't use. Okay. Twitter works fine. Twitter works great on this phone, so it's fine. Remember, you're on the road. Does it have a guitar tuner app? Bring your iPhone. Mad cow. Uber booking? No. Let me just check that. Okay, if there's a web app, but not the main app, obviously. But let me see. Uber. Nothing came. Let me just check here on the. Do they have a web app, Uber? But there's no app. There's a web app for Uber. Yeah, there's a web app for Lyft. Yeah, see, Mario's got the whole point here. This is for on the road. You can keep your iOS phone at home. This is for on the road. You're making a choice. I'm going to be untracked. I'm going to be untracked. And, if you want to be untracked, then you bring your Ubuntu Touch phone. If you want to get tracked, bring your iOS phone. So you have a choice every day. Do I want to get tracked today or not get tracked today? Then you make your choice and make your moves accordingly. So many jobs take place on the road. Yes, and lighten up. If you're on the road, you should be working on your job and not tapping hearts on ducking Periscope. Yeah. Yeah. So again, when you're on the road, you're working. You actually use it occasionally, and most of the time you're just checking, messages and so on. Which they had a free BSD Touch for mobile. Suck. Okay. What? Okay. So what else? What else do you want me to check? Okay. Let me just while I'm waiting for you to make a comment, let me just make a commentary on the OnePlus One. Okay. I had a problem with this, and I have not yet been able to install Ubuntu Touch on this phone. So this is running uh, Android. Okay, now why is that? Why did I have a problem with this OnePlus? Because in my instructions in the video, it's very simple. The reason is this didn't come stock. The stock OnePlus One is shipped with a non-Android operating system called CyanogenMod, which was the original version before it became Lineage OS. Okay, so CyanogenMod is actually pretty good because it's took you away from Google, and a lot of things that you could do and not have to be on Google was on CyanogenMod, and it was very popular. The problem is that this phone, whoever got this phone, decided they did not want CyanogenMod on this and installed Android. And somehow it got zucked up. The phone got zucked. Now that Android got installed on this, I can't undo it. It says locked. So I don't know. Something got messed up with the OnePlus One. So if you're going to get a OnePlus One, you have to ensure that it is the original operating system, which is CyanogenMod. If you turn on the phone and it's not CyanogenMod, I'd say return it. The headache of having to figure it out like I have is too much. Return it and say, can I get one that has the original on it? The stock OnePlus One. Okay? So get a stock OnePlus One. By the way, the first one I got was so dented on the metal parts there. Looked bad, and then the SIM card was damaged. So hopefully they don't sell what I returned to any of you. So if you see something with a damaged SIM card tray, then that's a problem. Okay. Don't buy an international version of OnePlus One. And I have not been able to find OnePlus One on Amazon. They're quite available on eBay, though. A lot of them on eBay. They're fairly easy to buy on eBay. I bought mine. This is the second one now, so these are all eBay. Okay, so the first one I got was from eBay was $60. And then this is the replacement to it. So this is $60. This one I got on eBay for $45 because it's the international version. So this is really a bad one. No, actually, this didn't come from eBay. This one came from swappa.com. So there's many other websites where they sell phones. So I got this from swappa.com. And you can find it on eBay as well. eBay would be better for all these used phones, not Amazon. So don't expect to buy on Amazon. The returns are meant to go into bulk boxes for warehouse liquidation. Hardware plus proprietary binder. OnePlus One A1 4G LTE, 3 gigabytes, yes. International version is wrong or original. Yeah, international means wrong SIM card. So don't get international. You got to get one that has unlocked. It's called unlocked. I put CyanogenMod on my wife's old Nook. The battery lasted so much longer. Wow, that's pretty cool. I have a Nook, and I put the. Where did you get your CyanogenMod binary? Because I need that. I need the original Cyanogen stock for these phones. Okay, so again, so let me tell you the problem again on the OnePlus One. This did not come with CyanogenMod, and it's a headache because nobody knew how to deal with this one has a bootloader called TWRP, twerp, and Ubuntu Touch can't install over twerp. So it's kind of a pain. So they said, well, bring it back to stock. OnePlus uses Oxygen OS now. That doesn't have anything to do with anything for now. That has nothing to do with the OnePlus One. Yeah, because those models don't work with the Ubuntu Touch. And this model uses CyanogenMod. So not to confuse the issue there. Okay, so the only thing that you gotta get is get the one. If you're in the U.S., get a unlocked. It's called unlocked OnePlus One, and get one with CyanogenMod stock. I've been a while ago. I would still have the SDAU somewhere. Okay, so now I told you that, in my opinion, the browser was faster on the Nexus. So if you're going to do a lot of web apps, I'm going to say this is faster. Okay, so if you want to take more pictures, this one is better for pictures, better for web browsing. Not so good with pictures. Otherwise, CPU speed, they're almost identical. This one is maybe the OnePlus One supposedly is 2.5 megahertz, 2.3 megahertz. I mean, they're very close. So that's not a noticeable difference in my mind. And speed, they use the same CPU, the same GPU. They're the same. Why is it that this one is faster? So either the Wi-Fi is faster on the Nexus, or hardware acceleration, or something, but the browser is faster on the Nexus. So personally, I'd use the Nexus. So I bought a couple of Nexuses aside from this. Okay. Gigahertz, yes, 2.5 gigahertz and 2.3 gigahertz. What did I see? What did I say? Been a while ago. Okay, so anyway, so does that answer that? So if you're on the road, what else would you find that you have to have on this? Obviously, texting and phones work just fine. What do you have to have on this? Kelp, realistically, for the majority of us, March. I'm going to be realistic. I mean, trying to expect it in 20... they're only shipping the next batch in late November, and then the batch after that, they're going to be starting in December. There's no Signal support, no. No Signal. Now, if you want an alternative to Signal that works just fine on this, it's Brax.me. Okay, Brax.me works just fine on this, and you can do end-to-end encryption on it. Okay? And the key, when you're using end-to-end encryption on Brax.me, the key is on the phone. It's not on Brax.me, it's kept here. So Brax.me doesn't know what the key is because it's kept on your phone. Okay, and Brax.me runs fine. Can you run desktop apps on this? This is one of the questions that got asked. And can you attach a monitor to this? Now, this is an important question. If you want to use this as a desktop, because you can you use one of these as a desktop? The answer is this one can be used as a desktop. The Nexus 5 is supported. All you need is something called a Slim port. I believe this one has SD card support. I don't know how you put the SD card in here. You may have to remove the case, but it does have SD card support on the OnePlus. Nexus does not. None of the Google products ever have SD card support. This one has 32 gigabytes and 64 gigabytes. This comes in 16 and 32. But so there are pluses and minuses. So let me just tell you about the desktop on this. Can you run desktop apps on this? The answer is yes. So what you need is something called a slim port. And I saw it on Amazon for like, $5.31. And you plug it into the micro USB and you can plug a monitor in and then use a Bluetooth keyboard and Bluetooth mouse, and you can use this as a desktop and run desktop apps. So with this phone, if you want to use LibreOffice and do word processing, you can do it on this using Linux. Now it's pretty involved installation here to install desktop apps. It's not simple. I may need to make a video for you how to do it. And not all of the apps. The more graphically oriented the app is, like if it does video, it doesn't seem to run too well. Okay, and the reason is there's another layer that translates the graphics from the desktop app to what is native to this phone. I mean, what is native to Ubuntu Touch. Without getting to the specifics, it's a different compositor. So the graphics is handled by a different program that's not compatible with one on the desktop. And for that reason, there's a lot of games that are played here. That is not going to be true of the Librem 5. The Librem 5 uses something more standardized for this use. So I don't expect any problems on the Librem 5. The Librem 5 should work just fine running any desktop app directly. The way also Ubuntu did this is they basically corralled desktop apps into its own container. So it's actually not intuitive to go figure it out. If you never used this before, if you never used Ubuntu, it translates Xorg into mir, Skybear. That's why there's slowness. So the desktop environment will take the X11, take the mir and translate it to X11. So there's a translation going back and forth, which doesn't work too well on video because it's too slow. So and the Firefox works very, very slowly on this. So I would just use whatever is native to the device for most users. But yes, you can use a word processor. You can do any of that. So if you want to play with desktop users, get the Nexus. So except for photos, I find that the Nexus is more flexible for me. So if you ask me, this is more flexible. A little harder to install. I think I'll sacrifice web speed for replaceable battery and SD card support. For SD card support. So you can use the 1+1. For actual, most app things, it works pretty much the same. I don't. It's functional. It's very functional in both. So I have no problem with either one. Braxme though runs faster than this, and that is a concern to me because I use Braxme. So if you want to use desktop, use the Nexus. Otherwise, if that doesn't matter to you, use this. This comes with a 64 gigabyte version. This does not. The Nexus is only in 16 and 32. This one comes in 32 and 64. So I believe I have the 64 one here. Okay, so that's why it's slightly more expensive to get a 1+1. Aside from the fact that 1+1 is 1 year newer. Okay. So 1+1, 64 gigabyte unlocked GSM World Phone. It's the World Phone that kind of, but it does say GSM unlocked on it, so that's a good thing. But what is that MVG? What does MVG mean? I don't know what MVG is. So that's not a standard spec. Braxme runs better, faster on the Nexus. I would say it's just not Braxme. It's web apps run faster on Braxme. I'm using Braxme as a web app, and it's running faster on the Nexus. Yeah, check the country. Braxme. Yeah, it'll run fine on both. It's just I find that it's just snappier on one of them. And I don't know if it's network speed. It could be network speed. It could be the fact that the network is faster on the Nexus. They have identical GPUs, identical CPUs almost. So they're close to the same as far as power, even though the Nexus is older by 1 year. The main difference, if I'm going to say, the main noticeable difference is the camera. The OnePlus is a better camera, no doubt. No doubt. Okay? So again, I ordered a couple of extra Nexus 5s, and when I get them, and then I'll announce if you want to. Well, it has a camera, obviously, Mario. It's just it's 5 megapixels on the 5 megapixels on the Nexus, and 12 on the OnePlus. 12 megapixels on this. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm gonna, look for OnePluses that are compatible, and okay, which will work, Mario? Which will work? So I'll just, as I get deals, I'll just, buy them and then sell them again. So 8 meg and 1.3 for selfie on the Nexus. Is it? I thought it was 5 meg. 8 meg is not bad. 8 meg is not bad. I didn't know it was 8 meg. Yeah, that's not bad. 8 meg is not bad at all. So that makes this acceptable. Okay, I thought it was 5 megapixel. So 8 megapixels is reasonable. 12 megapixel is kind of getting on the overkill side. 8 megapixel is pretty good for most users. So that's not a problem. Okay, so regardless of the phone that you're getting, one of the questions that some of you asked me is how to install a VPN on a Linux phone, and it's just so good, so difficult to instruct people, because that's not really for me to instruct you on how to install a VPN on Linux. It's not. I don't really give instructions for that, because it's command line, and it's kind of a lot of step-by-step processes for that. So if you are in need of a VPN for multiple devices, really seriously think about getting a Brax Wi-Fi VPN and/or router. Now, what makes this different? Well, a VPN and Tor router means you do not have to install anything. You just use this as normal Wi-Fi, and you can add a $35 larger antenna version of this that you can add to this. If you want to, you can buy it from Amazon, $35, and you can add and have the big antenna. So if you want range, you can add range to it. I'm actually broadcasting on that big antenna right now, so that's why I can't show it to you, because I'm using the antenna. So after using this for a while myself, I have to tell you, just the simplicity of putting this on your house and having your network automatically go to a VPN, and nobody needs to know you're in a VPN. Absolutely, first of all, it also does ad blocking. So it does, not only does a VPN ad blocking, and there's no installation on any other device. And it's very fast, so there's really nothing. It doesn't have any impact on anything. So everything works. You know, you can watch your videos and do whatever, and the only thing you got to do on each device is just connect to this network. How do I know you're not using this to steal our data? Well, it is a Linux machine, Jay from NYC. So if you actually know some Linux, go log on to it, because you get access to it, and look at the Zucking source code. It's all open. Zuck. Yes, is that Yaki name? Fake name? Oh, fake name. Yes, fake name. It's handled at the back end. You don't have to think about it. I mean, maybe you're selling these. Selling Zucking what? So, yes, if you are saying, well, I don't trust you. Well, who does not care? It's all open. Everything in here is open source. Let me tell you, if some of you are using VPNs, you know, it's a pain to use a VPN. I'm going to be honest with you. If you have a ton of, like, look at me, look at this. What the zuck am I going to do with all of these phones? Am I going to install a VPN on all of these? Seriously, people, am I going to install a VPN on all this, especially when I'm installing them? Am I going to do a VPN on this? I don't need to. I connect to the Brax Wi-Fi router, and it's automatic on a VPN. I don't have to think about it. It's completely non-thinking, no thinking process. So I log into this VPN, to this Wi-Fi. That's it. It's automatic on a VPN with ad blocking, and I don't have to think about it. And no tracking. And if I have guests, that come by, and they need to use the network, then they can use this, and they're on a VPN. They're not exposing my data while they're going on Zuckbook. Okay. So, I need a VPN that works in Jersey, and it's like Starlight. So why can't you use a VPN that works in Florida? Why can't you use a VPN that works in LA? I mean, I don't get your logic. It's like, you think you're getting away with something. Okay, so this is not a hardware VPN. This is a router. The VPN is still where the VPN is. This is a VPN router. You still need a VPN subscription. So this still need your Bytes VPN subscription with this. And but if you have a Bytes VPN subscription, and you're saying, wow, it's really difficult because there's more devices than I ever figured. Because like me, look how many devices I have here now. I'm going to show you all of them. And then you realize, okay, all of these are running right now. All of these are leaking my IP address if I were not on a Brax Wi-Fi router. Even my alarm is working, could be releasing my IP address. So a Wi-Fi router solves all that. It just simplifies it. It works. The theory is like it works like something called tails and cubes in Unix. This is a it's called a SOX 5 router. So it routes all of your network traffic on the internet, including DNS, everything. So when it comes out of the other end, it's like it's completely unidentified for you. So it's perfect. So if you have these mobile devices like I do here, too many of these, it's too hard to coordinate. I'm going to tell you, my privacy is leaking just because we can be careless. So how do you solve that? Lock into a VPN router. You can still connect to your normal VPN if you're locked out of Netflix or something. Does that router need or come with software so you can use it out of the box? No, it's already built in. The software's included. SD card right there. Yeah, if you have Bytes VPN, I pre-configure it for Byte. Do you support secure DNS? Hell no, Frosty Flake. Zuck, no. Do not do secure DNS. No, Zuck, no. I would never zucking support secure zucking DNS from zucking Google. It's called DNS over HTTPS. Zuck, no. Okay, I have a video about that. No, you should not enable secure DNS. Secure for who? If you want to be spied on by Google, yes, go install encrypted DNS. If you do not want to be spied on by Google, don't do that. You do not need such a thing. What you need is anonymous DNS, not encrypted DNS, anonymous DNS. And if Google had anonymous DNS, then it would be perfect, even if they encrypted it. But they do not make secure DNS anonymous. Secure DNS is not anonymous. It's just encrypted. But it's not anonymous. So by the time it gets to the other end, it identified you quite well. It has your IP address and everything and said, we know the exact client that sent us this. And why don't we send him a cookie so we can track him even more? Because we know he's on secure DNS over HTTPS. So no, I do not support that. What happens is your DNS is routed to, when you use this, your DNS is routed to the server, so you do not have any DNS leaks. So your DNS appears to come from wherever the server is. That's the advantage. Okay? Zucking cookies. Okay, so hopefully that may be educational for you, Frosty Flake. You may want to watch my video on it's DNS. Thank you, Emerald Dragon. So Frosty Flake, you may want to watch, because that's kind of a new thing, and people are confused because everyone says this is important, this is good for you, and it's really not good for you, because they misconstrued two concepts, are completely separate concepts. One concept is called anonymous DNS, and the other one is called encrypted DNS. Do you support the OpenNIC project? I didn't even know there was an OpenNIC project. You mean they're actually going to make the firmware open? That would be... You realize, Donnie, that Wi-Fi triangulation is on the NIC, or network interface card. Wow. Well, Sponge, I'm glad to... the DNS is on the Wi-Fi. Why would the DNS be on the Wi-Fi? It's just routed. I use cookie auto delete plugin. No, you don't need to worry about cookie auto delete plugin. I just have a the problem is your cookie auto delete plugin is not going to stop browser fingerprinting. I have a video on that. Unfortunately, browser fingerprinting is, very difficult to avoid. The only way to avoid browser fingerprinting is to use multiple browsers, and that's pretty hard to do. Eat the cookies on site. There you go. Mad Cow says it right. Okay, so what else did I miss here on the questions here? Looking for an open and democratic alternative to DNS root. Concern about the censorship. OpenNIC might be solution for your. So OpenNIC is not an open DNS. That means something else then. Okay, so OpenNIC is a DNS service. Okay. I didn't know what that meant. To me, NIC means network interface card. So, okay, so alternate route. That's pretty awesome. Can we have that? How about, currently the whole domain naming system is what I want is for the DNS service to be anonymous. There is a new DNS methodology outside of Google Zuck. I agree anonymous is also essential because AI farming of VPNs linking pattern. Yeah. So the problem is the zucking geniuses that come up with ideas like DNS over HTTPS. Uh, they're not really doing this for you. They're thinking to themselves, "Oh, I want to make you know Google's dealings more opaque, and the way we do that is by encrypting the communication between you and Google. But it doesn't protect you, so you know isn't the point to protect you? If you're talking about protecting you, you're not being protected by DNS over HTTPS. Maybe good for Google, but not for you. What if we directly type addresses of commonly used websites? Uh, the website itself will do a DNS call. So, super fame username. I have an app that I wrote for Linux, and you would be surprised. You go to one website, that website will make possibly 20 calls to DNS. Aside from the fact that if you come into a website by IP address, you're not necessarily going to get there because of there may be multiple servers, and it has to reallocate between the servers, and also it's searching for what name you came in at, because there could be many domains being served by a server, and so if you come in by IP, it's going to not know which part of the server you're referring to. So as an example, you can be on one server, and the same server could be handling Instagram and Facebook. So the server, since they're the same company, so you come into the server as an IP address, and you may be using one of 1,000 servers, and in which case, so you get in maybe on the wrong server that's not the closest to you. Then secondly, that server may be down. That's why they circulate it. And then thirdly, then it doesn't know if you're looking for Instagram or Facebook, because the IP address doesn't say that. So no, you need a DNS. Now DNS is cached. So the best solution to DNS is to use a VPN service that handles the DNS side for you with ad blocking and caching, and that is being done by Bytes VPN. Bytes VPN caches the VPN requests, so it only goes out if any one of the users of the VPN goes to a new domain. If all of you, let's say that on one server, let's say that there's 100 of you on one server calling google.com. There will only be one request to google.com from the server. The rest will use the cached copy. So you don't actually make that many DNS calls when you're on a VPN. It doesn't get that far. It will use the cached copy. So that's why it's even more invisible. VPNs are great for that. Not only does it combine your VPN request, it can also do that and block the ad blocker, the bad domains, which are the dangerous ones. Brain machine wireless communication. The fuck does that mean? Okay, so what else? What else? What else do you need to know about the Ubuntu phone? So again, I have two of these coming, Nexus 5. I don't have any extra OnePluses yet, so I'll keep looking for them, and if I find a good one, then I'll buy one. And then if you want to buy it from me, just pay for my time to set this up. Okay, so that'll keep it simple if you don't want to spend the time to go install it. Okay, so any other questions here? So there are other phones that are supported, that are coming up, and definitely Ubuntu Ports is planning on supporting the Pine phone. So it's not just the Librem 5. They're planning on supporting the Pine phone. Now anything about Postmarket OS. Postmarket OS is, it's a kind of a development kind of a OS. There's no telephony on it, so you can't really. Postmarket OS is maybe useful for other devices, but it's not really useful for phones. Yeah, I don't have the phones yet, Mario. So we'll bring it up next week when I actually have phones to sell. Okay, but at the moment I don't have any phones yet. Round of applause. Thank you, Code Name Nebraska. Yes, keep my channel alive by supporting my products. Let me just tell you my products right now. There are several products, and I appreciate the support on them. First of all, I sell a pretty awesome VPN. It's called bytesvpn.com. And let me just tell you what is... you cannot install KDE Plasma on Ubuntu Touch. Although you can install KDE Plasma on a Pine phone in a Librem 5, but not this. Okay, so anyway, let me tell you something about my products. Now, I don't really do any kind of advertising on this, and I don't really talk much about the benefits of Bytes VPN. One of the things about Bytes VPN is because Bytes VPN is made to be small. I don't really intend for Bytes VPN to be ultra popular, and by keeping the numbers down, my objective is to keep the number of people on each server down, so we don't have a lot of people in each server. I'm in it, so you're not going to be like like PIA, PrivateInternetAccess.com, that can stick 200,000 of you in one server. And sometimes it works great, sometimes it works slowly, and then they block your email. I can't do email on privateinternetaccess.com. Or maybe you're going to go say you're going to use NordVPN, which aside from being expensive, NordVPN is not in the US. So all the servers of NordVPN are in some other country, which is extremely slow for people in America. Okay? Why would you use something that is so slow outside of the country? What is the benefit of having it outside of the country? None. It's actually a problem. If your VPN is outside of the country, you are not protected by the Fourth Amendment. There's no need for a warrant to go attack your server. So in the US, they can't do that. If they want to attack your server, they're going to have to give you a warrant. So, and I've never received a warrant for you. This may be a canary kind of question, but I can say as of today that I have not received any kind of request for warrant or anything for either Braxat.me or any of my platforms. Nothing. So I use Proton VPN, but their Linux software leaves something to be desired. Well, all VPNs use the same software. So if you're having a problem, you should use this. They give you a gag order if you if they give you a request, then they'll give you a gag order. Since I'm talking about it, obviously I have no gag order. So no, I don't have any gag order or anything, and there's been no request. I'm trying to keep the people who go to Bytes VPN to be on the up and up so that we don't actually have to worry about it. NordVPN got hacked. I never trust companies where a large part of their budget goes to marketing. NordVPN's budget is probably 99% marketing, and they pay a lot of referral fees for people to talk well about them on YouTube. I don't have to do that because Bytes VPN is my product. I don't need that many people on it. Okay, it's extremely reliable because there's not that many people on it. Okay, and for this reason, it performs much better. Very, very fast servers. I mean, we're talking about gigabit Ethernet connections and unlimited traffic and which is expensive for me. So I don't make much of a profit on it at all. Now, what I hope to happen is when you go with Bytes VPN, and it is kind of a premium VPN because of that. I don't put a lot of people on it. I can increase my profit by just saying I'll put twice the number of people on one server, and then I can drop the price like some of the other guys. We don't do that because we want to keep the quality up. How many people? I want the at the moment the capacity of the servers are you have to think about it in terms of capacity. Emerald Dragon, I don't think we're even at 10%. Yeah, you can do torrenting. There's no limit what you can do. There's no, you're not stopped from doing anything. So at the moment, the capacity of the servers are 10%. We're at 10% capacity. So, I mean, that's pretty good. Okay? So, that's pretty good. So, capacity as PIA and NOR must be like, 110%. Okay? They stick so many people on the server, and I do not. So, if you want simplicity installation, the only way to avoid having you install OpenVPN or any software on your devices is to use Brax Wi-Fi VPN router. Now, if you don't want to use the VPN anymore sometime in the future, you can switch this to Tor routing. It comes with it. Tor routing is free. If you say, I don't trust you, you may be doing something, open source. How is Canonical tied to Microsoft? I believe the Microsoft is on the board of the Linux Foundation. There's no monthly cost. Annual cost is $89. It's not a monthly cost. It's annual. $89 annual. Okay, so then you can get these in addition. This simplifies everything. You put this on. It's just your router. If you need an extra router, consider getting this instead as an extra router. If you wanted to have more range, put the antenna on there, $35 more. You can buy it yourself. It's already configured to use it. Just plug it in, reboot, and it's ready to go. Okay? So, Zuck Microsoft, been free of them for... Well, Microsoft is on the zucking board of the Linux Foundation. Okay, yeah, many bad guys on the Linux Foundation, so be careful. So anyway, this is my other product, which is now available, and this is called the Brax Secure Net. This is the alarm, and then we also have a motion detecting HD camera. But let me just talk about the alarm first. I don't have it plugged in right now because I'm at a different location. But I don't have a micro USB charge at the moment here. See if I have one. Nope. Yeah, I don't have a micro USB plug. But this one, yeah, they're all made in the USA. All these cases are custom made here. Everything is made and hand soldered here. All the parts are made here, and all the soldering and everything is done here. So this is a radar alarm. So the way it works is you and it talks. There's a speaker on it. It's just kind of like an Alexa Echo, but it doesn't listen to you. It just talks. So you get acknowledgement what it's doing. When it's ready, you press the alarm like that, and then you get it beeps every 10 seconds to warn you the alarm is going to go off. Then it gives you an extra 10 seconds. So after a total of 40 seconds, the alarm goes on. So when it's on, this thing there's radar. So if it senses any motion around this in a circle, it's basically 4 meters circle or 12 feet all around. So you can cover a room that's 24 by 24 crossing zone, because all you have to do is cross it. So it doesn't have to cover every area, but if you cross the zone of this device, then the alarm will fire and send a notification. Yes, so this is available now, and it's on rob.brax.me. No, a spider, it has to be a big enough object. No, not a spider or mouse will not set it off. Yes, the case is 3D printed. Yes. So, all, like I said, all handmade and all hand built in here. And it's on rob.brax.me. And you kind of see the similar design here in the bottom. Again, this is an originally designed case. It's actually not. We designed the case here. This is not stolen from anybody else. It's our own design. Okay. Does the messaging app on Ubuntu Touch support RC5 or is that S? I don't know, Donnie. I don't use that. So anyway, of connecting to the Pi router using Ethernet instead of Wi-Fi. On this one, yes, I will have that version. It had that before. I had an older version that did Wi-Fi routing. Ethernet routing instead of using the Wi-Fi, where it did not use the Wi-Fi. I had that version, and nobody used it, so I didn't put it on this. And if there's enough demand for it, I'll return that feature. I just need to find time to do it. Any way of connect? What else did I miss? Okay, so these are the third product that I don't have at the moment handy at the moment is the camera. So I have a outdoor camera that is meant to be used instead of sucking products like Ring. So if you want to get spied on, use Ring, because let me just tell you about Ring if you don't know this about Ring security. Whatever photos and whatever videos is taken by Ring is shared by Amazon with your local government agencies, as well as whatever contractors are assigned by those local government agencies. And they have free access to the database of videos that occur in your neighborhood. So if you walk by some house and that house has Ring on it, when you're jogging by, then somebody has a record of your face with facial recognition walking there at that amount of time, at that time of day. So this is like so invasive, and I do not support people buying products like Ring if you want any sort of privacy, as well as not getting products like Alexa Echo that will listen to your voice. Okay, so if you want a little bit of safety and you want alarms and all that, you need ones that are protected from the internet. These are not IoT devices. The reason is they cannot be controlled from the internet. I do not build this as IoT. They are internet-friendly devices in the sense that it sends notifications out, but I cannot control them from the internet. I can't turn it off and on from the internet. It can send videos over the internet to BraxMe only, and it does it through automation. It's not, you set it and forget it. You cannot change your mind from a distant location. You can only change your mind when you're at home. So if you're going to travel and you didn't set it, then that's it. So this prevents it from being hackable. Yes, let's stop helping Big Brother watch us. So please, I make these products for you. So if you support my products, then obviously you're helping yourself, at the same time promoting the message of this channel. So I'm coming up with more and more of these products so that I can help you guys with your security, and some of you need solutions. So can I hack it to automatically post on YouTube? People are zucking. Okay, hold on. all these comments that are zucking will demonetize my account, and then they undo it. Wi-Fi 6 on router? No. No, it's standard 2.4 gigahertz, 2.5 gigahertz WPA2. No. WPA3 and Wi-Fi 6 are not yet, they're kind of unsafe right now. So, yeah, they're not safe solutions. So, there's still it's unsolved bug on WPA3. So the standard's not yet stable. So it was planned to be released, last April from Microsoft and Apple and so on, and no one released it. So WPA3 is nowhere near done. So, and I talked about it a year ago. So what's the alarm do? It detects, then alarm goes off. Audible alarm. Yes, there's an audible alarm if you want, or quiet alarm, and it sends a notification. Industry Center, yeah, but I believe 802, I believe that uses WPA3. That's part of that certification, if I remember right. They fix and then unfix and lie to Congress. Yes. So wait, how does it send notification? Through the BraxMe app. I have a secure app. It's called BraxMe. And that's how it sends notifications. Or it can also send SMS. Okay? You are zucking cool. YOLO Bros. Thank you, YOLO Bros. So yeah, so the notifications of the alarm is really cool because instead of putting alarms on windows and doors and all that, this is an area protection. This is a perimeter protection system. So you put it in the center of the house or center of a main area where you think the main areas that people will cross, and then this will set the alarm. And it just simplifies because one device protects the whole area. And if you have this and an outdoor camera, you are in good shape. You can capture your bad guys and give you a notification on the alarm. You cannot do an alarm on a camera because you don't know if somebody's doing anything from the camera view. It only detects motion. It doesn't mean they're doing anything bad. And it's outdoor. This one you put indoors, and it will because it's radar. As long as anything moves that has any kind of metal on it, such as water, meaning humans, and you will have a problem. So anyway, I'm just to tell you about the my future plans here. I'm doing so many things on Linux. It's just I want to expand your knowledge of Linux and Linux phones, and so I have to do a lot of research on this and maybe help you with some videos on how to use some of this. I'm going to tell you my difficulty. I even had no idea how to load a desktop app on Ubuntu Touch. The documentation, it's not obvious, and it's just looking at it's not obvious. So videos will help guide you so that you can actually use this phone as a daily driver for some of you, at least out of the house. Then, when the Librem 5 comes out, I have it ordered, and when I'm able to do a review on the Librem 5, then we will use that in the Fine phone. Can I speak through the speakers of the security system? No. No, this security system, no. You got to be careful with anything that, eSpanish, be careful with that. That's one of the things that Ring touts is that you can speak through the security system. It doesn't tell you how you can speak through the security system. The speech is actually sent through the internet to Amazon. What is a new Ubuntu Touch photo? What does that mean? Ubuntu Touch photo. What is a photo? Not sure what that means. They want to take a better picture of the UB ports. I don't understand. What am I missing there? Okay, hold on. Can't read this. The defense official said it appears that during the we're not going to put that in here, Donnie. That is a I don't want any such commentary on the broadcast. That's that kind of thing, demonetizes and puts me under the eyes of three-letter agencies. So, okay, so sorry, Donnie, my friend. I had to censor that for YouTube reasons. I have to be sensitive to being censored in here because that's what the platform is. Okay, one of these days, if we all had Linux phones, we actually don't care about censoring. So let's get to that. Get your Linux phone and there will be no censoring since you can do anything on a Linux phone. No one's there to tell you what apps you can install. So that's my objective is, to get out of the subservience to Apple and Google and say we can install whatever we fucking want. The router has ARM, so it has subprocessor with Intel management system. Can it be driven by hackers or destroyed? This part, like Purism tries. This is the processor is the Intel management system is on Intel processors. There is no Intel processor in here. Okay. Where's the Intel processor? That's a Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi. So, no, there are no sucking Intel management engines on Raspberry Pis. No. UBports want to make a new Ubuntu Touch phone. They don't have the resources to make anything else. That's their problem at the moment. How do they actually develop? Hello, Rex. So no, IME or Intel vPro, AMT vPro is on Intel processors. And you can even buy computers now without IME. You just have to look for them. So all of my computers have no IME on it. So this model does not have IME. This one is an HP Spectre X360. No IME. I have 3 of these. I have a Lenovo Yoga 720, no IME. I have the old Lenovo's have IME. I have 2 old Lenovo's with IME on it. Sorry, 3. Well, 1 broke. So I've there's a lot of computers in this house. So Intel IME is vPro, yes. Where is my Ghost BSD Touch? AMD. Okay, AMD has an IME equivalent, so don't think that you're immune just because you're an AMD. No. So the ones that are immune are ARM. ARM processors don't have the back door. Okay, because ARM is a open source. Well, they can build it into the firmware of other parts, but at least the main ARM chip itself doesn't have it. PSP, that could be what it's called. Yes, sounds familiar. Yeah, but yes. So, but On the other devices, the spyware is built into the Wi-Fi chip, the baseband chip. Sometimes it could be on the GPU. Sometimes it could be on some other coprocessor on there. So you never know. So you could actually have any number of dangerous firmware that exists. SS7. SS7 is not an ARM issue. SS7 is on the network. What does like this? What kind of comment is that? I have a video on SS7. SS7 is on the video backdoor to your phones, which is a new video that people stop watching. But SS7 is a network protocol, and it's hacked at the network level. It's not a CPU specific issue. It's network. So it's a protocol. So if you have software to talk to the protocol, then you can talk on the SS7 network. Okay, so that is not a that's nothing to do with ARM. So I don't know where you got that. Or maybe you're referring to something else. Sometimes, letters get mixed up and it's not the same letters. But yeah, I should know this since I just made the video. So SS7 is something else. Okay, so SS7 is a telecom switch OS and signaling protocol. Yes, it's called, the signaling protocol 7. Or what is it? Something signaling 7. And it's the SS7 is the protocol that's been used since the 70s. So SS7's been around and they just integrated with the new stuff. Right? So all your texting and every kind of metadata for routing a phone call is there. True OS best BSD distro. True OS best BSD distro. Now, why do you want to use BSD, Donnie? Any particular reason for that? BSD is not as widely supported. Signaling System 7. There we go. BSD is not as widely supported, so I'd rather go with Linux. It's more popular. So as it is, Linux is not popular on the desktop, and to go with BSD, somebody was asking me a bunch of BSD questions, and he didn't know how to do it on BSD, and it's like, you're kind of on your own, There's a larger community on Linux. So if you really want to go BSD, then why don't you go with just a raw Linux from the old days, which I used. I used Linux from before. So I did use Unix. I used Unix back in the old days. And, I don't think that's any fun. Diameter is the system used on cell infrastructure today, unless SS7. No, they're coming up with a new one. I don't know if it's diameter. I just read it today, in fact. And it's not yet completely supported. Can you whitelist websites on Bytes VPN somehow? What does that mean, whitelist websites? YOLO bros? By default, all websites are whitelisted. There is no blacklist. Okay, so when you go use Bytes VPN, you have two choices. You have the Bytes VPN no ads and the Bytes VPN normal, so you can switch back and forth. If you switch the router, in this case, or if you do it from your OpenVPN setting, to no ads, it will automatically block suspect ad sites. If you want to not have that, because you want to make sure that there's no blacklisting of anything, stick to the other one, which is Bytes VPN, the standard one, the one with no ad blocking. Okay, so you can go back and forth. It's up to you. By default, I ship it with ad blocking, but you can change it. Okay, so this one is shipped with ad blocking by default. Unless you want to tell me you don't care about that, then I'll turn it off. Right? So this is all available on rob.brax.me. Again, there's nothing mysterious about this. All the sources open. The bore for a month will be the bore, different spelling, next month. Okay, so this will be on rob.brax.me store. Rob.brax.me store. You know, this is a great holiday gift too, because it's so practical. So practical. So, yeah, this is a great present for the holidays. An alarm that just press the button and you have area protection. And if you are, you can actually even protect a single room. For example, if you want to know if anybody is going into your room, this would work great. Okay, so I will be working in a lot more. I'm doing research and more Unix things so that I can do more videos on all of these tools that have to do with phones and Linux, and that will be my project for the next while here. And thank you for supporting me, guys, and watching, and appreciate it. Any more questions? If not, we shall wish you a happy weekend, and I'll see you next week. There's a jam session on basically some websites. The VPN won't do anything on certain websites. Whitelisting whitelist because it has a fit when you log in from a new IP. I am not the one doing the whitelisting. That they have to do that on their end. Yeah, YOLO Bros. In my case, all you have to do is switch to your normal your normal router. So let's say you have two routers. This is the VPN router, and then you have your whatever your original router is. And if you have an issue like Netflix or something else, you switch to the other router temporarily. When you're done, put it back. Sailing is done, Donnie. There's no more sailing till next year. Okay. Thank you, people. Thank you, folks, for supporting. And sorry, no piano here in this location, but I'll try to set this up a little bit better for next time. Thank you very much for watching. I keep forgetting where the camera is. The camera's over there. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. And leave messages if you want. And I can be reached at rob.brax.me. Mo Jams. Yeah. Okay. So I'll have a jam session on Tuesday. So that'll be on Periscope only. Okay. Good night.